Afternoon, everybody. I'm great to see everybody in this room, and I know that you are very excited to hear about today's speaker. So, welcome to the first colloquium series of this semester. And then I'm the Yuna Sung. I'm the Korean Studies librarian at the University of Michigan. And then for my promotion, I put some brochure for the library over there too. Everybody gets 1 second. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Professor Won Jung-min to the Michigan scholars and then the community. And this afternoon, we have a very unique opportunity to learn about Korean wave in Latin America from Professor Won Jung-min, who traveled all the way from Chile. Yeah, so she came all the way from Chile. And so she is an assistant professor and then head of Korean studies in the Asian Studies Center of the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile. And she received her PhD in Latin American literature from Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, 한국 외국어대학교 in Korea, and has been teaching at the university since 2006. And she teaches usually comparative culture between Korea and Latin America, intercultural communication between Asia and Latin America, Asian history and culture, Korean language and culture, and women in Korean history. In addition to her teaching, she is also a Korea Foundation project director, and she organized many conferences and outreach programs, including annual international conference on Korean studies, post-unification simulation, essay contest on Korean studies, Korean film festival, and exhibition of Korean folk art. And her research area include intercultural communication between Korea and Latin America, cultural hybridization in identity formulation of Korea, Korean popular culture, and the impact of history education on post-unification. And her most recent book is Korean Studies textbook for the Spanish-speaking world, and co-sponsored by the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies. This lecture will be continued until 5, and then Q&A session will follow after that. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Professor Won Jung-min.
Thank you, Ms. Yuna, for wonderful expression, wonderful introduction. And good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to the NAM Center for Korean Studies and the Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies for this invitation and giving me the chance to talk at the University of Michigan. I also appreciate all of you who are taking your valuable time to attend. I've been living in Chile since 2004 and working at the Asian Studies Center of the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile, where I've been teaching Korean history and culture, comparative culture between Korea and Latin America, mainly Chile, women in Korean history, and intercultural communication between Korea and Latin America, as Ms. Yuna Sung introduced. You may be interested to know that I have a PhD in Latin American literature, which I obtained in Korea. Perhaps even more interesting in the fact that I'm teaching Korean history and culture in Spanish in a Spanish-speaking country. Based on this academic and personal background, my main concern is to compare the Latin America which I learned about and studied in Korea with the Latin America where I've been living for over 10 years. Because of my double academic identity, this invitation is even more meaningful to me. This invitation to the University of Michigan has reminded me that I must not leave from Latin American studies behind, even though my real life has obliged me to forget a bit for a while. It is a really pleasure to be able to return to my original academic field. My courses, the campus of the university and my students. To talk about Korean wave in Latin America is a very challenging topic for me because it sounds attractive, but what I will tell you might upset you if you are expecting to hear about some fascinating and passionate characteristics about Korean wave in Latin America. I might talk more about Chile than other Latin American countries since I live there. Therefore, Chile might be an intersecting point of comparison during my talk. Today's topic that I share with you is a little bit more journalistic than academic. It will need to be developed for far more in the future to be published in academic journals. I've been studying to find an adequate theoretical background to analyze Korean wave in Latin America. I hope today's discussion with you can produce more ideas. First, I have to remind you that the huge continent of Latin America contains more than 30 countries. I'd like to know how many Latin American countries you know, and how many of you have been to any of these Latin American countries. Yeah, most of the Latin American countries speak in Spanish, except Brazil, Haiti, Belize, Guyana, etc. And according to the official ethnic data, 43.8% are mestizo, 35.4% are white, 13.3% are regional Indians, 4.5% are black, and only 2.6% are Asian. As you go further south, fewer regional Indians and Asians are found. This means that most of my students are dark-haired Chilean with European family names. Every other year, not every other semester, I may be lucky enough to have one, or if I'm so lucky, two Korean Chilean students. For your reference, I will show you several countries' total population and the number of Korean inhabitants among several Latin American countries, like as you see. Not many Koreans are found in any Latin American countries here. Even though Brazil has the most Korean population, but like among 200.4 million population in total, Koreans are like in 49,511. Yeah. Why do I tell you this? It is because Latin America's reception of Korean wave must be different in terms of fandom and diffusion of Korean wave due to the minimum size of Korean community in the region. The first thing to keep in mind when we analyze the phenomenon of Korean wave in Latin America is that it developed not at the same time as it did in Asia. Another factor is the general misunderstanding that Latin America is a homogeneous region since Latin American countries are close neighbors and share their common Spanish language. However, in fact, this is not true. Several K-pop idol stars are famous among specific groups, and the number of Korean language learners has been increasing in Latin America among popular music fans. Korean media have enthusiastically reported the good news about South Korean popular culture's huge success in Latin America to suggest that people in Korea strongly connect such a success to the national image and further to any activities related to Korea, including Korean studies. Although K-dramas and Korean films are entering the region with a strength similar to that of K-pop, their fans and reception are not recognized by Korean media. However, the question is whether K-pop's popularity is a substantial transnational cross-cultural reception of Korean culture or only a fan culture of passing fancy. This semester, among the 52 students in my comparative culture class, only 4 have ever attended a K-pop concert in Chile, while the rest have asked, what is K-pop? Also, I taught a K-pop Korean online course about Korean popular culture to like in 5 Latin American country students from Colombia, Mexico, Ecuador, El Salvador, etc. And half of them were K-popers, like K-pop fans, and the rest of them also asked me, what is K-pop? Yeah. So as some of you know, the Korean TV dramas began to gain popularity in East and Southeast Asia in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The flood of Korean pop culture films pop music, and especially TV dramas into the rest of East Asia came to be known very quickly as the Korean Wave by the People's Republic of China audience in 1997. Korean drama seemed to possess the broadcast appeal among the general populace during that period, as evidenced by the widespread popularity that Korean TV drama still enjoy in many Asian countries. Korean drama's popularity had even expanded to the opposite side of the globe. In Mexico, All About Eve was aired in 2002, which was followed by Star in My Heart in 2003. In Venezuela, Winter Sonata was broadcasted in 2006, along with The Star in My Heart and All About Eve in 2007. Korean dramas and films have also been aired in Peru, Paraguay, and other Latin American countries, contributing to an enhanced awareness and appreciation of Korean culture among the peoples in the region. Stairs to Heaven was first aired on TV in Chile on March 13, 2006. This marked the first time that a Korean drama was aired on TV in Chile. Korean dramas gained tremendous success in Mexico, followed by the formation of famous actors' fan clubs such as Jang Dong-gun and An Jae-ok. While South Korea's former President Roh Moo-hyun visited Mexico in 2005, these fan club members asked him to bring those actors to Mexico, but Chilean fans of Korean actors are not as active as Mexican fans had been. The film The Way Home was shown in Argentina and Chile in 2005 and 2006 respectively. It succeeded in Argentina but not in Chile. Korean dramas and films or other popular cultural products were rarely seen in Latin America until several K-pop idol groups began to appear and call the attention of Latin Americans via internet, who began to form their own fan clubs. The fan club societies. Korean idol cover dance groups began forming in Chile since 2009. Since then, K-pop seems to represent the Korean wave in Latin America, including Chile. Similar fandom has evolved in Argentina, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru. Among Korean idol groups, Super Junior, DBSK, SHINee, SS05, Girls' Generation, and Big Bang were the most popular. These groups' fans held Korean festivals on their own, and each fan club has its own SNS such as blogs, forum, Facebook, and Photolog to promote their activities, events, festivals, and contests, and share information with each other. Blue Boys, these guys, Popholic, Stand By You, 4 Ninja Stars, Doors, SBYS, Sunshine Project, MVP, and Strong Souls are still representative Korean idol cover dance groups. Blue Boy is Super Junior's Chilean cover dance group and became even more famous because of its own fan club. One of the members looks very similar to Super Junior member Shindong. Korean media did a special report on him like this one. Going to the Korean community in Santiago, located in Patronato, to buy Korean food ingredients and eating tteokbokki. Korean embassies located in Latin American countries began organizing annual cover dance contests since 2009. We are Chilean K-pop fans.
입고 온 옷과 메고 온 가방에는 온통 한국 스타들 사진으로 가득합니다.
Super Junior, 사랑해요.
I love you, Super Junior. This guy is
슈퍼
Shindong.
주니어를 모방한 그룹 블루보이스를
Chilean
직접
신동.
결성한 마누엘은 칠레의 명문 대학생으로 신동의 헤어스타일까지 따라한 극성 팬입니다.
Yeah. Does it look like Shindong? You think so?
방 안에는 온통 한국 연예인들 사진으로 빈틈이 없을 정도입니다.
따구야! 김따구야!
Okay, yeah, so yeah. So JYJ visited Chile in 2012, and their successful concerts were mostly full of teenage girls. Most Korean media competed to cover this news, from major press to free street media. All Chilean media which reported these two idol groups' concerts were considered to be Chilean major press media in Korea, even though most of them were common and or free street handouts. Psy's world-level hit of Gangnam Style also reached Chile in 2012, but his next album was not as successful as Gangnam Style. In the same year, one of the Korean entertainment programs, Music Bank, visited Chile and Peru, and several of the most popular groups in Latin America, such as Super Junior, CN Blue, MBLAQ, Raina, After School, and Davichi, gave their first performances in Latin America. Korean media reported the program's success in Latin America and generated the idea among Koreans that Korean wave, more specifically K-pop, contributes to everything from representing a national brand to developing Korean studies. Something similar happened to other Latin American countries. However, how trustworthy is media reporting? Obviously, several K-pop stars' performances attracted thousands of Chilean fans, but the media did not say that most of the fans were middle and high school teenage girls, which means that this phenomena alone cannot represent Korea. Furthermore, the fact that several K-pop stars' performances in Chile were cancelled since 2013, that has never been reported in South Korean media. Though Chilean K-pop fans are not as numerous as in Asia and North America, their numbers are slowly growing, relatively slowly, but K-pop participatory culture creates a specific space for fans in Latin America to interact and communicate with one another, as well as with other Korean communities and institutions in Latin America. There are numerous articles about Korean wave worldwide, but very few that deal with the Korean wave phenomena in Latin America, nor do they refer to participatory culture and Korea's interpretation of this popularity. As mentioned earlier, although it is officially said that Korean dramas are aired in Mexico, Chile, Peru, and Brazil since 2002, this has been quite sporadic since the dramas were not equally successful in all of those countries. But the real success transmitted among minority fanatics did not occur until Boys Over Flowers, 꽃보다 남자, was shown about a decade later in Mega TV in Chile in 2011. Some scholars mention that the lack of explicit gender of pretty boys would also have helped the reception of these cultural products in the region, because the sensitivity of Korean dramas is similar to the romantic ethos which exists in Latin America. If we consider the bulk of Latin America's own cultural products, they target a much more adult audience with content and themes aimed at that type of audience. In contrast, Korean dramas are particularly on topics appropriate for the whole family. So far, dramas in Latin America have developed a kind of division between infantile and adult audiences, but Korean dramas break this rule and attract both audiences simultaneously. I will summarize the characteristics of Korean wave in several countries of Latin America. Chile. In Chile, Korean wave became quite noticeable in the year 2012 when public as well as cable TV constantly aired Korean dramas. A considerable number of bands and singers also visited Chile. Furthermore, a Korean TV K-pop show called Music Bank attracted K-pop fans from different places in the country, as well as fans from the neighboring countries. Argentina. In Argentina, it seemed that the film productions were the most important representation of Korean wave. While K-pop gains the most popularity today, Korean films have attracted wide audiences. The films The Way Home, 집으로, Spring, Summer, Autumn, Winter, and Spring, 봄, 여름, 가을, 겨울, were the most successful in Argentina. However, the phenomenon did not seem to take root countrywide, probably due to the cultural differences which might make it more difficult to comprehend the film's contents and thus produce a gap between the products and the audience. On the other hand, Mexico seems to be the place where Korean wave has had the greatest influence in Latin America. Drama broadcasting started in 2002 and has continued since then, with the most successful features being Shooting for the Stars and All About Eve. The Winter Sonata was shown in 2005, and in 2008 even a documentary was shown to commemorate the centennial of Korean immigrants to Mexico. Among the Latin American countries, the largest number of Korean dramas and fans are currently found in Mexico. However, it seems that this success has not been quite what Koreans might expect beyond these fanatics, since Mexican media show little interest in the phenomenon, even though Korean dramas are also aired in the regions. Peru. In Peru, Korean wave seems to be as strong as in Mexico. Evidence of strong previous fan base is obvious in the great number of individual blogs related to Korean wave. Dramas have been important and have even been aired in prime time. An interesting fact is that fans conducted a flash mob in order to ask their favorite K-pop groups to perform in Peru. To analyze the Brazilian case, it is important to consider that the fact that Brazil uses Portuguese, a different language from all other Latin American countries. Furthermore, quite a big community of Korean immigrants and the huge Japanese community can explain the popularity of the Korean cultural products. Like this one, Brazilian cover dance girl. Like in the Me Gustas Tu, like a girl's 여자친구, girlfriend's girl. No sounds? Okay. Yeah. The Korean wave success has been homogeneous in Latin America as well as in the world in the case of Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style became popular through YouTube due to its funny dance and catchy rhythm. The singer was invited by various programs abroad due to the song's success, which might be called the first K-pop song aired on regular radio programs rather than a special program as has occurred. However, it may be unwise to proclaim this success as Korean wave's recognition by the world, since any popular song can be forgotten in a couple of months. It is important to analyze how this success evolves over time and not to draw conclusions too quickly. Learning how to locate and follow Korean wave challenges the limited knowledge of the audience, permitting fanatic female fans to build their own image of Korea. Therefore, it would be valid to assume the difficulty of maintaining this success after this first stage of ignorance is overcome. It is necessary to determine how people will perceive Korean pop culture when they no longer consider it as exotic. Will Korean pop culture continue to gain interest as time goes by? Furthermore, despite the expansion of Korean pop culture through internet, it can be transformed into one of its weakest points. In the case of K-pop, CDs are not sold yet in Latin America. So the only way to know the real popularity of the singers or bands will be the tickets sold at the concerts, but concerts require taking risks that the organizing agencies are not always willing to take. Korean popular culture became an interesting topic to study from different disciplines, but its rapid development has tended to be framed by too many generalizations. Today's talk about being able to see some sort of global culture implies that all individuals can have access to the same knowledge, entertainment, news, and even ways of seeing the world. But this equal access does not mean that the global culture penetrates the country's local or regional culture in the same way. That is why it is important to contextualize Korean wave's new contributions to the world's culture, especially Latin America. In the sense, talking about this phenomenon in Latin America raises questions. It is true that Korean culture has become more visible in the region, and that has meant an increase in exporting cultural products. But is it valid to ask what lies beyond vague statistics? Has Korean wave really shaken Latin America? According to the audience recession theory developed by Stuart Hall, the media has the power to directly create certain behavior in an individual while simultaneously maintaining the role of media as an agenda-setting function. He proposed a new model of mass communication which highlighted the importance of active interpretation within relevant codes. Korean wave faces certainly look good and the music truly feels liberating to Chileans and Latin Americans, but Latin Americans have not shared the thousands of years of cultural commerce that Asian countries like Korea, China, or Japan have experienced when viewing Korean wave productions. Most Chilean Latin American fans enjoy Korean TV dramas and pop music through internet sites, encoding and decoding the meanings sent from those dramas, and music by using their own cultural codes and interpreting Koreanness in their own terms. Korean media do the same, and certainly Koreans and Korean media's expectations do not necessarily match with the Chilean or Latin Americans' receptions and interpretations. Hall stated that the code of encoding and decoding may not be perfectly symmetrical. What are called distortions or misunderstanding arise precisely from the lack of equivalence between the two sides in the communicative exchange. He also argued that the functioning of the codes on the decoding side will frequently assume the status of naturalized perceptions. The encoding of a message is the production of the message, and the decoding of a message refers to how a member of audience is able to understand and interpret the message. In order to create the coded meanings, the sender needs to understand how the message is comprehensible to the member of the audience. Let's see some examples. The Chilean bank, the Banco de Estado, hired the Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Advertise the bank's Creditazo style and attract growing middle-class borrowers with increased expectations. This commercial uses the same dance as a seductive dog moving to imitate the popular music video. Who knows what it means and what the commercial produced? Yeah. After JYJ's performance in Chile, the main Chilean newspaper El Mercurio unusually covered this Korean idol group in their spectacle section. Still, they left a subtle nuance. After the band returned to the stage, translators accompanied the performers to converse with the Chilean female public, but little was understood due to the excited screams of the crazy fans, mass screams, and complicated Korean accent. El Mercurio's weekly magazine Ya's special article entitled Devoción Coreana, Korean Devotion, dealt with 4 Korean Chilean female professionals, most of whom were over 30, were K-pop, the female profession, revealing their age in parentheses, which is not usual in Chile. The 4 professionals, most of whom were over 30, wore K-pop girl group style skinny jeans and hot pants with floral print blouses with exotic but somewhat frivolous makeup. I was invited to, but fortunately I didn't go. Yeah. And how can we define K-pop's economic effect in Latin America? In December 2013, Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism of Korea and Korea Creative Content Agency announced the cultural contents exportation. The game industry occupied 58% of the total, and music formed 5%. So Korean Creative Content Agency's cultural contents exportation data shows regional preference, but not each country's index. Furthermore, Latin America is categorized as other with Africa and Oceania. Therefore, it is not feasible to calculate the total amount of Korean cultural contents exportation to Latin America. Different from Korean wave fan tourists from China, Japan, or other Southeast Asian countries, it seems very few or no K-pop tourists visit Korea from Latin American countries. It seems that there is no cultural content exportation to Latin America, even though no criticism nor other comments appear about not having any economic effect in the region. Not all effects are negative. Knowing the Parras family's importance in Chilean culture was used by K-pop singer Davichi, to which everyone's heard listening to the beautiful Korean girl singing Gracias a la vida, thanks to the life. This song was written by Violeta Parra and sung by Argentinian singer Mercedes Sosa. Violeta Parra had been recognized for the art in the Louvre in Paris before becoming known in Chile. Her brother, Niconar Parra, known as the Antipoet, won the Cervantes Prize for his poetry in 2012 in Spain before his 100th birthday was celebrated by the nation, and he's still alive. Another brother, Roberto Parra, wrote and directed in 1971 La Negra Esther, one of the most famous Chilean musical plays that became famous in 1988, being presented throughout the country. This all became known to Korean people in 2012, which motivated the Korean singers to perform Gracias a la Vida and attract Chileans to K-pop. When I showed this video to my students, most of the guys got impressed to see the girls. Okay, it's true. I recently took this picture at the central metro station called Baquedano, which was playing the music video of Korean girl group Sisters Touch My Body. Metro Baquedano is a dividing point between downtown Santiago, the capital of Chile, and the Barrio Alto, higher class uptown of Providencia, Las Condes, Vitacura, etc. K-popers gather here at the GAM Cultural Center, Gabriela Mistral Cultural Center, every Friday afternoon to practice and participate in K-pop activities. This center was named after the Chilean poet Gabriela Mistral, who was the first Latin American woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1945, before becoming recognized by Chile.
Que se mantendrán aquí hasta que los
This video
responsables
shows
les
GAM
entreguen
Cultural
alguna
Center's
solución.
K-pop event.
Cambiamos de tema para contarles que habrá una maratón de K-pop en Chile, un baile coreano que se ha impuesto a los adolescentes. Desde mañana en el Centro Cultural GAM se elegirá al mejor grupo de baile, una tendencia que atraviesa clases sociales, edades y sexos.
Social class, age and gender, which is worth hearing because it describes.
Se abre la puerta y es la única vez que tienen la posibilidad de ensayar en el escenario que este jueves lo jugará.
Which is worth hearing because it describes Chilean Latin American social class concepts
Los encontramos en el Centro Gabriela Mistral, lugar donde ensayan más de 250 jóvenes desde hace unos meses, luego de sentirse acosados en el Parque San Borja, lugar ícono de la discriminación en Chile tras la muerte de Daniel Zambrano.
Por ejemplo, nos tratando homosexuales, algunos nos decían que éramos tontos, que éramos idiotas, como que no pensábamos, como que no teníamos derecho a hacer nada ni a opinar porque nos estaban retando así.
Desde ahí el GAM les entregó todos sus espacios abiertos para que muevan sus cuerpos al estilo K-pop, baile generado en Corea, pero que irónicamente surge con la idea de imitar a Occidente y hoy somos nosotros mismos quienes terminamos.
Yeah. So, this Professor Kwak is not our No Jin-gok, so okay, other Korean professor. The huge success of Korean wave like Asian countries, mostly due to the cultural affinity among Korea's Asian neighbors and the hybridization of the Korean wave. Ryu admitted that much of the success of the Korean wave is closely related to the ability of South Korean culture and media to translate Western or American culture to fit Asian taste. Then how does it fit with Latin America? Unlike the Asian countries where the Korean wave easily attracted the audience, Latin American countries have little or no cultural proximity to Korean culture. Also, most of the Latin American countries have a relatively short history of a residential Korean community, in the case of Chile, like in just 20 years. Unlike the USA experience, Latin America, far less awareness of Korean culture has evolved. In 2012, a Korean professor visited our university soon after DBQS first concert in Chile and gave a talk to my students. He showed several K-pop idols' photos like this one in opening his first lecture, expecting Chilean students' enthusiastic response. However, the students did not respond as expected. When I asked my students whether they knew what Korean wave is, most of them were bewildered, even though some of them knew or liked some K-pop idols. Some students asked whether all Korean girls get plastic surgery like idol stars. One of the exchange students from Mexico confessed that she had not had any idea about Korean TV dramas' popularity in Mexico during the 90s. She had heard about K-pop, but did not have much interest in. In general, many K-pop fans started their fandom from Japanese manga, and both K-pop and manga fans are considered a kind of otaku among their friends. El Mercurio's articles on JYJ's performances and the women's magazine's Yaz special article previously mentioned show how Chilean and Latin American media interpret K-pop from their own perspectives. This semester, 2 Brazilian university students are conducting fieldwork in Chile under my direction. I thought that K-pop in Brazil must be much more successful than as Chile due to the Brazil's significant number of Korean inhabitants. But the girls said that it is not easy to gather K-pop fans in Brazil and more difficult to go to any K-pop concert since the distances between regions are too great. While Chile is a much smaller country, almost all cultural events are held in Santiago. Therefore, it is much easier for fans to attend the concerts and make the audience look more numerous. Furthermore, Chilean people traditionally enjoy attending concerts. I consider two factors, the sender's intended message and the receiver's interpretation of the sender's message, and the sender's unintended message or unconscious message and the receiver's interpretation of the message. Here the sender represents Korean wave and its receiver Korean wave consumers. People tend to enjoy cultural products for themselves, yet sometimes they might wonder about the origin of the cultural products they purchase as well as any other consumer products. Even the entertainment producers like JYP tend to hide the creator's cultural identity. However, Korean popular culture has been formed through imitation, appreciation, revision, and so on by external influences, and it has generated the Koreans' own socio-political significance in its specific time and space, which values that are expressed everywhere in popular culture products. This hybridization process can exemplify a receiver's interpretation of the sender's unintended message. Another example is the sender's reinterpretation of receiver's interpretation. As Hall stated, reality exists outside language, but it is constantly mediated by and through language. And what you can know and perceive and say has to be produced in and through discourse. That is always subject to both sender's and receiver's interpretation, which are limited by each one's cultural knowledge and experience. Surely there is no compelling reason to exclude K-pop's influence on increasing interest in Korea and Korean culture. The point is not to confuse and or mix those three elements, K-pop, Korea, and Korean culture. Generally, Latin Americans search for and find the Korean TV dramas and K-pop through internet sites. Their individual cultural preferences do not necessarily coincide with the general popularity. My friend, Dr. Jennifer Chung Kim of UCLA, told me her anecdote about when she came to Chile to participate in our international conference on Korean studies held in 2008. During the conference, some female students wanted to take a picture with her. She asked why. They said it's because they like K-pop. She asked them what is their favorite, and they sang it for her in excellent Korean. She thought that they must be my students, but they were not. Even my students were afraid of their being at the conference and wondered how they could be there. Since my university is the elite university and almost 70% of the students belong to the upper fifth economic level and the rest of the students are scholarship beneficiaries, honestly, most of the otaku found in my university belong to the 30%. Then Jennifer asked me several questions. How do they access K-pop? Do they transition from K-pop to wanting to watch Korean drama and Korean shows, Korean films, try Korean food and cosmetics, learn Korean and to go to Korea? As mentioned earlier, K-pop fans generally access K-pop mostly through internet. K-pop, K-drama, Korean shows, Korean films, trying Korean food and cosmetics, and learning Korean do not necessarily coincide among fans in Latin America. Fans for each items are generally divided. K-drama fans are women in their 40s. Women between 25 and 30 are fans of Rain, the Korean singer and actor. Some just like Korean food without liking the K-pop, now and ever. Do they take part in fandom through social media? Yes, they do. But consumption rather than production, don't they spread K-pop to other Chileans? Mainly consumption. They share K-pop but are not able to spread K-pop to most other Chileans. Their cover dance may be considered a reinterpretation among their own specific groups. Here in Los Angeles, the K-Con, K-Concert, There was a whole row of fan club booths, all manned by non-Koreans. Jennifer had a Latina student today give a talk, excellent presentation on Korean webtoons, manhwa online. Her Hong Kong friend loves buying Korean fashion even though she's a millionaire and can buy whatever she wants. Most Chilean and or Latin American K-pop fans simply do not have such economic ability. To prepare this talk, I discussed the Korean wave with my Chilean students. They agreed that in Chile, or perhaps in Latin America, Korean wave started from Japanese manga. Among Japanese manga fans, some rock and roll fans in Concepcion in Chile started enjoying K-pop. In the case of drama, now Turkish drama has been replacing K-dramas whose popularity didn't last too long among a small group of fans. In 2015, the University of Michigan published a very valuable book, Hallyu 2.0, The Korean Wave in the Age of Social Media. As Norns stated in afterwards, this is true dynamism of Hallyu, one that works quite differently at national, regional, and global levels. What is Korean wave in Latin America? It's my question. It must be domesticating and localizing practices, Bang Hwa Chua said. Hallyu 1.0 and Hallyu 2.0, as described in this book, do not necessarily coincide with Korean wave Latin America. Ruptures are found among items such as drama, films, songs, food, etc. And instead of being a market, Korean wave Latin America generated an otaku fandom among specific groups, and mostly it depends on individual passion. As Jung Bong-choi threw the question, who makes the decision and by what standard in Latin America? And what specific cultural forms, genres, categories does Hallyu encompass in Latin America? Listening to K-pop, watching Korean drama, joining online fan clubs for Korean popular cultures in general, trying Korean food, learning Korean language, purchasing Korean cosmetic, electronic goods, studying abroad in Korea, making Korean friends, picking up cultural items and local transnational customs, launching personal blogs on Korea, working for Korea-related institutions of various sorts, etc. This ideal process seldom occurs in Latin America. In 2004, when I just started teaching in Chile, most of my Chilean students knew or liked the Korean films Old Boy of Park Chan-wook and Spring, Summer, Autumn, Winter, and Spring of Kim Ki-duk. But today, I can't find any students who know those films or any other Korean films. Last year, one of the Korean cosmetic company called Amore failed to attract Chilean market. Their assumption of having consumers was wrong because K-pop fanatics, as reported in Korea, do not have the expected purchasing power since most of them are teenagers. However, some teenagers buy and resell less expensive Korean cosmetic to their friends through SNS. In Mexico, there are some Korean cosmetic shops such as the Face Shop and Misha. One Chilean K-popper said that for her, Korea became an ideal place to live thanks to K-pop. One of my Chilean students, Nicolas, said, the K-pop occupied the space left after Japanese manga. Younger generations found some different attractions from K-pop, which will be replaced as soon as they find more attractive items. Another Chilean student, Jennifer, said that every culture follows the trends and has its ups and downs, and it is undeniable that K-pop in Chile is otaku culture. Felipe, who won the first prize at the essay contest on Korean studies held at our Asian Studies Center, got to know Korean jazz while he was navigating Japanese traditional music, but he is not a K-pop fan. In 2013, Time magazines reported this interview. In South Korea, though decades of conflict, coups, and revolution mean that people have had their feel of edginess, authenticity, and angst. In Chile, we don't have anything like K-pop. Songs here mostly have political and social lyrics, though we have Latin rhythm. A young woman from Santiago who gathers with friends in park every week to practice the latest K-pop dance movies told the South Korean Yonhap news agency. The Korean songs make me dance and smile. What else is needed? It seems that K-pop's ability to dazzle is no longer no danger or diminishing just yet. But I can't see any students saying this at this university where I teach. There certainly are K-pop fans in Latin America, and the number is growing. This year, BTS 방탄소년단 visited Chile, and its concert was the first K-pop concert which tickets were sold out in Chile. Enthusiastic K-pop teenage female fans remind me of American singer Leif Gare's visit to Korea in 1980s. Do you know Leif Gare Surfing USA? Yeah. This is my students. Yeah. His songs Surfing USA made Korean girls go wild. How many Korean students had studied English listening to pop songs, including me? Korean wave Latin America has been making its own way. It's rather slow, quite different, but its attractive path is still worth observing and analyzing in the future, but its impact depends on its evolution. Forgive me if I've sounded too ambitious or somewhat confusing in attempting to describe and reach preliminary conclusions about Korean wave in this massive, complex, ethnic, cultural, political, economic, Latin American world entertainment. Still, I hope you have enjoyed this exotic encounter unfamiliar to you. It has certainly been my pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for listening to my interpretation. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Professor, for that outstanding lecture.
Thank you.
I have two quick questions. One is, of course, there are more Koreans in Mexico, according to your graph. And I was wondering, is it possible, though, that there's a cultural difference between Mexico and, let's say, Chile, where you hail from now?
Yeah.
As far as how gaga people are over, let's say, dramas, soaps and things like that, that, you know, Korean soap operas are so big in other Asian countries. Right?
Yeah.
Is there that, maybe as a, besides the population that causes that? And the second thing is this, here in America, we can get something called Sábado Gigante Internacional.
What is it?
It's a Latino.
Yeah.
With many countries. But basically, it's a Latino cable TV
Yeah.
that's very popular worldwide. Do they have anything similar to that for, let's say, Asian in general or Korean specific?
In Chile?
Yes.
No. No. And actually, there are quite big cultural differences between Mexico and Chile. Actually, like when the Korean, the typical Latino dramas, soap operas, like in the Mexican or Venezuela, called Spanish like a culebre, like similar to Korean dramas, but more oriented to adult. But that kind of dramas are not made in Chile. And then when the case of Korean dramas are successful in Central America, and like the Korean government sent those dramas dubbed in Spanish, Mexican-style Spanish, to South America, which is not very understood in South America, like Chile, Argentina, or Paraguay, or Uruguay. Spanish sounds very funny in Chile, and the uses of terms and vocabulary is quite different, and then that kind of dramas are not quite loved by Chilean audiences. And then Latino, like in understood America. Actually, America is not a right term for me because America includes South and Central Latin America. Okay, so United States of America, I mean. So the Latino, like typically understood by most of the people in the world, are not quite found in Chile either, or Argentina. Actually, Argentina, Chile, like that homogeneous map, like in Argentina, Uruguay and Chile mostly, they thought that they are Europeans. They fear, they call them Westerners. Yeah, and then when I learned Latin American Korea, most of the Korean professors are studied in Mexico, and most of the UNAM, and most of the foreign professors are from Mexico or Spain. So I learned that Columbus reached to Latin America. I learned that like that, not found. Cristobal Colon in Spanish, like an encounter the new continent in 1492. I learned that like that. But last year I had a chance to review all the history and social science book of high school and middle school in Chile. And they teach the students that Cristobal Colon found the new continent. Encounter or discover. Yeah, thank you.
You mentioned that this starts with Japanese conquest.
Yeah.
And then shifts over to
Yeah.
what happened? Why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Japanese importation happened.
Mm-hmm. Actually, like between Japan and Chile, their diplomatic relations went far beyond like over 100 years. In this case of Korea, since Pinochet and Park Chung-hee. So like you can see many Japanese garden in many places in Chile. And actually Japanese embassy does not need to do anything to promote their culture, and manga is so famous. And among manga fans, like some found K-pop and they started liking K-pop fans. And there's like a cable radio program. In there, like J-pop fans and K-pop fans are fighting each other. And then some of them, like no loyalty found in their fandom. So some of them move to J-pop or from J-pop to K-pop, and they fight every day in the radio program and so on. So I think Latin Americans are very creative in good terms, and they look for very funny and interesting thing every day. So that's why they found manga. Oh, there's K-pop. Oh, manga is better this time. And they're moving like that way. Yeah.
I was interested that you didn't talk too much about the content of the soap operas, because what it first occurred to me is that
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you referred to it. You said, these people are depicting a pseudo-American way, but they aren't gringos. They're Latins.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I don't care, but Chileans care. Yeah.
I would have thought that would have been point of interest into Chilean society.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you think that the soap operas that are available from Korea in Santiago are
Soap operas, you mean?
soap operas and telenovelas? Are these representative of what is produced in Korea?
You mean like a K-popers or soap operas? I didn't understand.
Something like, I don't.
Yeah. The thing is that the role of the Korean embassy in Latin America is very big. They need some statistics. With the item of Korea, they cannot gather more than 1,000 people in one place. In the case of K-pop, the K-pop girls go there and they can report to Korean government, more than 3,000 fans are here, something like that, the numbers. So they organize, since 2009, they organize K-pop contest organized by the Korean embassy every year. And they distribute the tickets to that. A Korean media reported K-pop success in Latin America, and the Korean people think that K-pop is very famous in whole Latin America. That kind of circulation happens. But I don't think the K-pop represents Korea. I don't think so. And actually last year, 2 graduate school students from Korea came to Chile to their field work, and then one of them topic was Korean wave in Latin America, and the girl changed her topic because her hypothesis is Korean K-pop success in Latin America, and her question is, why can't I listen to any K-pop in the street? No, you can't hear any place. That happened. That's why I mentioned about the interpretation of, a reinterpretation of Korean medias. I had several chances to talk about this Korean wave in Latin America, but when I very honestly mentioned this kind of thing in Korea, they didn't like it. They want me to talk that Korean K-pop is so famous. Almost all of my students are K-pop fans, but actually not. Yeah.
One of the elements of a country's soft power or the cultural war is the language. Could you elaborate more on the current situation of Korean language learning?
Korean language learning, yeah. very good and interesting question. I don't touch Korean language education in my university because of K-pop. Like the soft power is important, but the thing is that there is one Korean college in Santiago, like every Saturday college to teach Korean language to Korean Chilean guys. And after the K-pop's success, they opened some special courses for Chilean students, and most of them are K-popers. And the Korean college hired 3 Korean Chilean tall, cute university students, and then they just follow oppa. They went to the school to see the oppa 선생님. And then there is some tax problem. And so they closed the course, and one of the other private universities, Santiago, opened the Sejong Institute. And the level 1 is full all the time, like more than 100 people. And then they just stop at the level 1 because they are not very interested in studying. And several students of mine go to Sejong Institute or Korean languages, Korean college to learn Korean. But the thing is that the very slowly advanced, and after 1 semester they just learn several words, and so it's a kind of dilemma. Yeah. Yeah.
You talked about Latin American receivers of the Korean language encoding and decoding
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah. Yeah. Like one of the girls said, for her, Korea is a paradise to live, thanks to K-pop. And some of them thinks that probably like the sisters Touch My Baby, all the music videos, hot pants or something like that, it satisfy their Orientalism, the geisha image of Korean girls, the plastic surgery, that kind of negative images too. The Gangnam Style, and then actually the last week I went to one of the Korean restaurants in Santiago with my Chilean friends, and they one of the guys insisted taking somek, soju and 맥주 in the restaurant. So I said no, no, every Korean's like that. I saw that situation in Gangnam Style music video or something like that. Why don't you dance like her? Or it happens. The strong Orientalism is found in Chile, Latin America still. Because for their ignorance. When I go to yoga class in Santiago, they an incienso, 향. And all the yoga instructors wear turban, meditation, and some of my Chilean friends got angry to know that I'm not Buddhist. I'm not vegetarian. That kind of images. Ignorance, I call it. Yeah. And then K-pop reinforces that image. Plus that Orientalism, plus the sexier image of geisha and something like that too.
What about
Dramas, not many younger generation. And the thing is that Chile is Latin America is machismo, in different ways. But when I see my Chilean woman friends' husbands, they do not do anything at home, and then most of them have employees. It's a quite class system. You employees from your birth. So the Chilean guys are quite machismo, and the Korean drama show, Japanese drama fans, they feel Korean husbands are very nice and sweet and soft and that kind of things. Yeah. The Chilean 아줌마, I call it. Yeah. Thank you. No more questions? Yeah.
Just a simple one. So you, I think, briefly mentioned that there are people who start with Japanese manga and move on to K-pop. So the people who are into Japanese culture, they're not really they're into it because of Orientalism. I mean, what draws them initially
my personal interpretation still. I have to develop it more. The thing is that Chile is like Latin America is like a class, like caste system, not legally, invisibly, but you can confront many obstacles. For example, books are very expensive. So like the middle or lower class cannot buy books. And the huge differences in gap between private and public schools. When I read the students' essay, the 70%, 30% of my students, the use of vocabulary, the structures, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And so, like one of the videos, like the girls say about that, like a career is my dream or satisfies me, but like they feel some kind of 대리만족. They're replacing their happiness, showing and dancing and singing K-pops and seeing the Korean guys falling in love with them. That kind of feeling too. Like a manga has a very similar story. It's also lower, also the same class, yeah. Even though some of the high class people also like K-pop, but they do not reveal that they like it. They try to hide it. Like still further in South America, where the people think that they are white. Yeah, like, and actually, when I see the list of the semester before the semester starts, I can see probably semester my class will be lighter or darker, just to see their family names. Yeah. Interesting. So I don't have class, so I am the only Asian in my campus. I am the only Asian. There are one or two more Asian professors, a pianist, music professor, Korean Chilean, but she's Chilean actually. And then I'm the only Asian in Asian Studies Center, including whole campus. The university has 5 campuses in the whole country, 4 in Santiago and 1 in Villarrica. And I am the only Asian in the campus. So like actually in 2005, I conducted a research about Korean image in Chile. Like what Koreans do? Selling something in Patronato. So like the customer asked me, what do you sell? When I take a taxi at 7 p.m. or something to go to Patronato, when I have an appointment with Korean people to go to Korean restaurant, or like, and I have to go to Patronato. Do you have to close your shop? It's very general. Not even ask me what I do. And then several years ago, one of my niece, she's American actually, Korean American. And she went to Middlebury College, and she came to Santiago, Chile, to learn Spanish during the vacations. I took care of her for 2 months. And once she got home, very angry because her Spanish professor insisted her to talk about Korea. She said, I'm American. And the professor said, no, tú me entendiste mal. You understood me wrong. You are Korean. She said, no, yo soy norteamericana. I'm American. No, you understood me wrong. You are, that kind of thing happened.
But don't you see all this as transitory? These are the initial.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it would be a transition. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Not easy to transition. Yeah, slowly, but I hope so. I hope so. Actually, the Mexican girl who confessed me that she's not interested in K-pop, she's from Tec de Monterrey, like a very elite university in Mexico. So she said, I'm not interested in. Yeah, very similar, like Tec de Monterrey in Mexico, like my university, something like that.